Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. If you've been managing your way through early careers, transfer sagas, and those nervy stoppage time corners, you're going to like this one. Patch 26.4 just dropped for Football Manager 2026, and it's a chunky hotfix with a ton of practical changes that you're going to feel the very next time you load up a save. I'll walk you through what's actually in it, what matters for real-world saves, how to get it right now on Steam's public beta branch, and a bunch of practical examples so you can squeeze value from the update the second you hit continue. This isn't one of those tiny, we tweaked a comma in the tooltips moments. This is hundreds of fixes plus a few quality of life changes that smooth the whole experience. And I know a lot of you were waiting for exactly that. First, let's clear up how you actually get your hands on it, because I've seen a bunch of comments from managers who thought it would just show up on the default branch and wondered why their download queue looked the same. This update is currently live on Steam under the public beta track. That means you open your Steam library, right-click Football Manager 26, hit Properties, then Betas, and select the public beta branch. No password or anything required. Give Steam a second to pull the files, restart the client if it doesn't nudge itself, and you're in. If you're on Epic or Game Pass, hang tight on your main install for now. The soak is happening on Steam's beta branch first, and once it's all verified, you can expect it to roll wider. Saves remain compatible, so you don't need to fire up a new project just to benefit from the changes. Let's talk about the eye-catching quality of life bits, because those are the things you'll notice before your first scouting report lands. Attribute colors are now customizable. If you've ever found yourself squinting at a value you knew was good but couldn't quite read in your current theme, or you just prefer a different threshold for what counts as an elite number in your system, you can tune it. This isn't just a cosmetic tweak, it's a signal processing upgrade. When you're scanning through a shortlist with 60 players and only 2 staff reports per day left, your brain relies on color as a filter. Making those colors match how you categorize talent, say turning 13 to 14 into a more neutral shade and only lighting up 15 plus, can shave real time off decision making. Add to that a new preference to slow or disable UI transitions, huge for people who reported motion or speed frustrations, and suddenly the whole interface feels more responsive to your tastes rather than the other way around. There's also a 1.5 times match speed option for highlights, which is such a sweet spot. Fast enough to keep things snappy, not so fast you miss the nuance of your shape when the ball flips from half space to byline. Between highlights, you can crank it even more, so those dead zones don't drag. These are the kinds of changes you only get when a studio listens to early feedback en masse, and it shows. Now onto stability and those nagging issues that had people alt-tabbing mid-session. Over 300 fixes landed across the board. Some are crash-related, which no one wants to think about, but when they disappear, you feel it in your rhythm. Others live in the UI, labels, overlaps, odd tiles that duplicated at certain resolutions, little paper cuts that add up over a long session. There are fixes around registration quirks, squad number weirdness after single substitutions, weather logic that didn't always pick the white ball in heavy snow, and a set of improvements to set-piece attribute visibility so you're not second-guessing who should be attacking the near post. None of these are headline new feature notes, but collectively, they smooth out that experience where you stop fighting the game and get back to managing. If you've noticed threads across the community listing lengthy changelogs for the recent hotfixes, this release bundles a lot of that momentum into one place and moves it forward. Here's how I'd feel the difference in a real save. You're midway through a season with a mid-table side, and the board wants a top half finish. In the past week, you've juggled 2 injuries and a lone recall, so every scouting hour matters. With custom attribute colors set to your thresholds, you do a quick sweep through your shortlist and immediately spot 2 undervalued players whose key numbers light up exactly the way you define plug and play. You're not reading every line, you're pattern matching, and that's a good thing in this interface. You jump into a match on that 1.5 kind setting for highlights, which keeps the tempo brisk without turning it into a blur. The improved transitions preference means the panels don't swoop in a way that distracts you, and when you pop open set pieces, the roles make more intuitive sense because the attributes you care about are more visible. A lot of tiny wins that add up to fewer micro annoyances and more pure football thinking. For those of you who obsess over training and player development, there are also touches that should unjam a few workflows. One example that popped up from community lists was the ability to remove a previously set individual training focus where it could get stuck. That's the kind of tiny snag that only rears its head once you've micromanaged a squad for weeks. And it's the kind of fix that tells me the team combed through the ticket backlog with intent. You'll also find a bunch of scouting and comparison flows are cleaner snack, like being able to compare 2 players straight off a shortlist more reliably, and clearer tooltips sprinkled around places where new players got lost. Again, nothing glam, but if you've ever had a Wonder Kid stall because of housekeeping friction, you know why these matter. Matchday itself feels more stable and readable thanks to UI tweaks and the ongoing crash fixes from the last wave of hotfixes. Things like the captain's tile icon confusion or duplicate tiles on certain resolutions were small but jarring. They're addressed in the recent sequence. And for those who felt like tables or cards didn't present enough at a glance, like squeezing more teams onto a league table without scrolling, these incremental layout passes contribute to that managerial control panel vibe we all want when the assistant is chattering in your ear about pressing intensity. It's not just the match engine, it's the whole environment you operate in that's getting tightened. A quick bit of context helps frame this patch. FM26 rolled out advanced access in late October with the full release on November 4th, and the devs have been striking fast with multiple hotfixes through that period. We saw early updates push straight to Steam and Epic, then subsequent ones concentrated on the public beta branch, so the broader audience wouldn't be whiplashed while the team iterated. The cadence has been consistent. Fix stability issues first, then layer in quality of life changes driven by feedback volume. If you followed the official news feed or community forums, you'll recognize the pattern. It means by the time the update moves from public beta to the main branch, the riskier edges have been sanded down. It also means if you want improvements as soon as they're stable enough, the public beta is where you'll get them earliest. Let's talk performance perception, because not all speed comes from raw frame rates. A lot of it comes from how quickly you can do what you meant to do. Slower or disabled UI transitions do exactly that. They remove the ornamental delay, so jumping from squad to tactics to data hub feels more immediate. Pair that with better visual signaling through attribute colors, and your cognitive load drops. Fewer clicks, faster reads, more decisions per minute. For folks on lower-end hardware or those who just prefer a snappier feel, this is a meaningful swing. You'll still want to keep an eye on community-made performance packs and views, but it's nice to see the core game giving you first-party levers to pull before you reach for mods. If you're wondering whether you should switch mid-save, my answer is yes, especially if you've been nursing along a file where a couple of little UI aches or a registration oddity were nagging you. Save compatibility means you won't lose progress, and the net benefit outweighs the tiny risk that a new fix behaves differently with an older narrative in your database. Back up the save if you want insurance, and make the leap. The upside, cleaner training flows, fewer UI misreads, and more intuitive match pacing is instantly noticeable. And if you're part of the vocal contingent that wanted clearer attribute readability and less swishy motion, this is literally aimed at you. One more thing for creators, streamers, and those of you who love long-form saves with a narrative arc, the 1.5 times highlight speed is brilliant for watchability. It keeps the video tempo engaging without turning your tactics segment into a blur of instant replays. You can still pause on freeze frames to point out your Mazala's movement or the pressing trap you're setting on the fullback, but you're not losing 5 minutes to a sequence of throw-ins. And when you're between highlights, that faster hop keeps your commentary flowing instead of filling silence with dead air. It's a subtle change that improves the cadence of content creation as well as play sessions. If this is your first time switching to the public beta on Steam and you're worried about whether you can switch back later, yes, you can.